today I have the honor and the pleasure to talk to Lorrinda Gray-Davis of Trio. Lorrinda is, I want to say always almost for a couple of years, we have known each other and we did things together, and I'm always amazed by your brains, Lorrinda. So can you introduce yourself a little bit to the people listening and watching?
Yes. So first of all, thank you for having this interview. I truly appreciate it. And my name is Lorrinda Gray-Davis, and I am a liver transplant recipient. I was diagnosed with end-stage liver disease 6 months after moving back to my home state of Oklahoma, and less than 3 months later, I was diagnosed with inoperable liver cancer, and then had a liver transplant August 8th of 2018. And so for me, that was a lot to go on in a year, and it was overwhelming. And because of that, I became more of an advocate. I started thinking about what I could do, and I joined Trio. And so I have a lot of things that I am involved in. My brother had a liver transplant almost a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. And I have the cousin that just got diagnosed with PSC, a cholestatic liver disease. And he's only 16. Wow. So liver problems are an issue most people don't even think about.
Yes, and explain us about Trio a little bit.
So I joined Trio 5 months after my transplant. I thought, well, I've served on boards and now I've got a liver transplant. Let's see if I can get on this board. And I did, and that was in 2019. Mm-hmm. And then by October of 2019, that was January, October, I was like, I want to start my own Trio chapter in Oklahoma. And so I did, and I called my good friend Karen Hoyt and said, hey, will you help me? Because we got together on things and we formed Trio Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And that's where we started really advocating and getting involved with peer-to-peer for patients. And at that time is when I wrote a paper, mm-hmm. and it was about copay cards, foundations, and grants. What's the difference? Mm-hmm. Because I thought, this is a problem. I can't get my medicine. So, but Trio is a nonprofit. We're national. We're actually international. We've been around for 29 years. Mm-hmm. This year, 39 years. My apologies. I was thinking about something else. We're going to be 40 years old next year. I can't believe it. And I had the privilege of being the president for the last 4 years. And Trio is growing and changing, like anything needs to happen when you're around for that long. And it's really amazing how we're involved more. We advocate, we educate, we support, we do what all nonprofits do in that sense, but now we're starting to make changes in our peer-to-peer, making sure that patients have a place to go, mm-hmm. get information, learn about post-transplant cancers, and just have patients take control of their health.
Mm-hmm. And one part of the journey after the transplant is the amount of medicines on top of all the other things that are happening after the transplant. You did some work on that. And can you explain a little bit the problem with the medicines? So how many different types of medicines a transplant patient takes? And so can you give us a little bit of insights there?
So I have always asked certain questions because I was on steroids for a long time, but I ended up with Prograf and Cellcept and Valcyte. They've got a normal 6 to 8 medications that they put you on. If you're older and you have more problems, you're gonna have more medicine. Mm-hmm. But I was questioning because I was on steroids for so long, and I got on Facebook, and of course I see people that, I'm off steroids. And I had to go to my transplant coordinator and say, why is that? He goes, It depends where your transplant doctor was trained on how your medication regimen is going to be. However, the medicine's all the same. It's just on how they are going to get you to where they need you to be. And I had commercial insurance at the time. And so my medication, of course, after transplant, you're covered at 100% because your transplant covered every out-of-pocket deductible that you would have. And then, of course, a year and a half later, I changed and I went on Medicare. And that changed my entire world. I didn't have access to copay cards. I didn't know where to go. I took a high-risk liver when I was transplanted because I was 50 and it had hepatitis B at one point. Now, I don't have hepatitis B, but I take medicine so I don't get it. But I've never had a problem with my liver. And I think that that is absolutely wonderful. However, trying to get medicine is a little harder when you're trying to explain to someone, I don't have hepatitis B, but my liver had it, but I need this medicine.
Yes.
So it's hard to get that help sometimes.
Yes. So it's a big spectrum of medications people have to go through, and then obviously costs becomes an issue, right?
It is. It is. It becomes where you're. I had 2 years after my transplant, I had a heart valve replaced, so that added medication to my regimen, and with vitamins and all the pills I take over 10,000 pills a year.
Wow.
And I say that because I want people to understand a daily regimen you think about and you're like, oh, that's only this amount of pills. But if you think about it on a yearly basis, it's like, that's a lot of pills to take. But, of course, looking at one day at a time is the best way. But my Eliquis, I can tell you, it was just a month and a half ago, I go to get my Eliquis. It's a blood thinner. And they said it's $624. And I said, no, you didn't put my insurance on there. So I have commercial insurance because my husband. And she goes, okay, puts the commercial insurance on there. It's $195. And I'm thinking about all the people that would have cried, that would have turned around and walked away, or would not have got groceries.
Yes.
She did not offer me a copay card. She didn't tell me about anything. And I said, hold on, picked up my phone, looked up the manufacturer for Eliquis, got my copay card. I said, here you go. It was $10.
Wow. And that's medicine, that's medication for a month or a week, or what's the?
For a month. So it's medication for a month. So if you think of that $195 a month versus $10, and the only reason I was able to do that is because I have the information. I'm educated on copay cards and things like that.
Yes. And so I understand that liver disease or coping with liver disease is an education game. Biology, chemistry, medicine, physics, mental health, and now also finance.
Right.
So finance and insurances. So you did something and you created an app, and I was amazed by that app. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I created Transplant Medication Navigator to actually educate patients on how to get to medicine, because you don't understand all the different paths and they're not all in one place. And I think that was the biggest thing for me is I know how to get there, but not everyone does. And until you put it all in one place, can a patient population be educated and go, okay, I've got a quiz on there. So a patient can say, I am this kind of patient, or I'm or a caregiver or a social worker. And it says, what is your organ type? Are you pre or post transplant? What's your insurance? So it'll pull over the medication that you input and pull over those opportunities for copay cards and foundations and grants. And then it teaches you, I've got an application education on how to fill out an application, because most people qualify in the US on the the poverty level. Most of the time, the poverty level is set with pharmaceutical companies at 500% over poverty level. So most families would qualify, but they don't understand. And once you do it one time, it works for everything else that you may have to apply for. So I wanted to make sure that that was there. I put in got denied, step therapy. How do here's a letter. Here is a letter that you can use to help your doctor get your medicine. Here's a letter to appeal for things. Here is this, because most people are sick, frustrated, overwhelmed, and the last thing they need to know is, how do I write this letter and write it in a way that's going to be in my favor.
Okay, so walk us through that. So if there's a transplant patient, this person can set up the profile on your app, personal profile, and then first of all understand what the price of medicine is. Is that correct?
They'll have an estimated price. So we have some education about out-of-pocket deductibles. Mm-hmm. Most people don't understand. If you use a copay card, or if you use a GoodRx card or Single Care, those types of cards, they don't count towards your out-of-pocket. So someone may do that the first of the year and say, well, my medicine's only cost me $400, but I'm still going to have to pay that $2,000 out of pocket. So they're going to end up paying more money at the end of the year than they would have if they just stuck with their insurance. And so making sure that patients understand that the out-of-pocket, they can set up a profile, but it is where, because this is not sponsored by anyone, there is it's by a patient, billed by me, there is no funding coming in. It's just me. And so I do have it as all education is free, but there is a certain part of it where savings calculator, and there is a MyPath quiz that after 2 times, it's $8.99 a month for the pro version, but people are able to put in all their medications as many times they want to look and figure that out. But I wanted patients to be able to have access to things that are out there. They just don't know where it's at.
And then if they understand it, then explain the letters again. So you have the chance as patients to get access to letters that they can give to the doctors?
So yes, so like with if they're filling out an application for a patient assistance program, they have to fill out so much information, and then they have something they're going to send to the doctors. And so they fill out the information, attach the form, and get it to the doctors. The doctors finish it up, and then the doctors will fax it over to the pharmaceutical company. However, I have a little line in there saying, hey, why don't you check with your doctors in about 2 weeks, make sure, follow up. And then just the appeal about step therapy in regards to you cannot take this medicine, but you've got to take this, but you got to take another medicine before they're going to allow you. And that causes problems, especially with people with transplants or chronic illnesses where they need to have that certain medication. And I think is what we can do to help the physicians and the providers and doctors get to help us. We got to help them. So we got to say, this is what's going on, and here's all the information. That helps them get things done faster.
And we put the link to the app stores, obviously in the description of that video. Is that in Google Play stores and in Apple stores?
We're getting that in Google Play stores and Apple stores right now. It's on the website. So but on the phone, they can use it on the phone just as easy as they could on the website.
Okay.
They can save their medication to their phone or to their computer. We don't save anything. If you sign up, it's your name, your email address. But we don't save anything at this point. And I'm trying to keep everything on the patient's side where they can save that medication.
Okay, so probably the mobile version on the phone is enough. You don't need an app then, at least for the beginning. Okay, so what other, I understand the point on medicine. How about diagnostics? If I want to get a test like a Velacure or FibroScan or the immune system tests, for instance, by the Eurofins people, TrueGraph, is there anything that also navigates patients with the diagnostic, or right now you are focusing on the medications?
Right now, I'm focusing on the medications, but diagnostics, that educational piece will have to come in because, with transplant or with any kind of new things, you're going to say, do you want a biopsy or do you want to be able to have non-invasive tests and things like that? So I think right now we're focused more on getting patients to their medications and then we'll expand.
Okay. And what other resources for transplant patients are there available? You talked about Trio. So if there's a transplant patient, and usually it's quite overwhelming, before the transplant and after the transplant, what other resources can you recommend?
Well, we have a peer-to-peer support group that meets twice a week. We've been meeting twice a week for over 5 years, 5.5 years actually. And
Online or offline?
online. So online, I believe that sick patients can't go anywhere, and patients that are newly transplanted can't go anywhere, and so it's great for them. We have a care partner meeting for the care partners. I like to say care partner, not caregiver, because I kind of think that allows the caregiver partner to be in front of the patient and be in between the doctor and the patient to actually have a role to play in getting the information to the patient instead of standing on the back end of it and helping navigate that patient. I think that that's better, but care partners have to have a place to go and talk about how overwhelming it is sometimes to other care partners and just be able to have that sense of community. And I think together, we do it on holidays because I'm like, you're going to get tired of your family. You will want to come talk to me, but we have other moderators as well, but we keep topics and we keep it very structured. So not one person is overwhelming the whole conversation. And we always have different things, and we like to end with something good because there's something good out of everything. I mean, you'd be having a bad day, but there was something good in that day. And what was that? So
that's a very good way to look at it. That's a very good way to look at it. Yes. So we put also the links to the support groups into the video description. Lorrinda, thank you so much for the amazing work. It's always good to talk to you. I'm very thankful to get to know you and to call you a friend. Very grateful for that. And thank you for that education in terms of finances and medication. I think people will really like it. We will inform the people in our network about it. The links will be we'll find the links in the video description. And thank you so much for everything.
no, thank you. I truly appreciate your mentorship and just getting to know you. It's been absolutely outstanding.